Hello, I'd like to introduce you to the 98% 3D printed record player. This is going to be used in the radiogram project I'm working on at the moment. It's fully automatic operation, microcontroller controlled. It uses the microcontroller that you find on the Arduino Uno, the ATmega328, which is the main brains of the unit. Point to note there is the tone arm, the cartridge there. It's only got one screw in it because unfortunately the other lug broke as I was tapping it to fit the screw. So obviously I ordered a replacement cartridge for it, because unfortunately you can't buy the little black plastic bit on its own. You have to buy the whole cartridge, but they're only cheap anyway. So that's what I've done. The tone arm uses a carbon fibre tube and a couple of washers there on the back there as counterbalance weight. The tracking force is set to 2.5 grams, which is middle of the range for this particular cartridge. So the venerable AT300 3600L Audio Technica. In fact, you see it's got a genuine Audio Technica stylus on it rather than the copy. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is play a record. So when we do that is just take the weight off there, place our record onto the turntable, place the weight back on, like so. So the weight is back on there. And now we're going to press the play button, which is just there, the play button there in the middle of the picture there, so my finger's on it there, so I press that. Turntable starts spinning. It spins a couple of times to check the sensors to determine what size record is on there. See, it's a 12-inch LP. So it's set the speed to 33 1/3 RPM and also move the arm to the 12-inch position. And it's now commenced playback. So this will play the record, and at the end of the record it'll lift the tone arm off, put it back to the rest and stop. Right, we're coming towards the end of the record, and the tone arm will lift automatically in a minute and return itself back to the rest, and turntable will switch off. I can't play any audio because otherwise I'd end up with a copyright strike, unless I could find some royalty-free records I can put on there to play with the video. I'll do so. There we go, so it sets the arm back on its rest and shuts down. So we now have a function which allows this thing to repeat play on the record, whether it's an LP or a single, and it'll repeat it 5 times before it shuts off again. This is to help save wear and tear on the records. So you can't just leave it repeating indefinitely, because otherwise that could wear down the stylus and the record. So that's why it's limited to 5 times. The way the internet, because this is part of a larger project, which is a radiogram, which has got a touchscreen control on the front of it. On the touchscreen control, you've got extra features like the function for the repeat, the button for the repeat, and also a function that allows you to skip forward and back on tracks. So in order to enter the repeat function, in the absence of the touchscreen, it's all controlled by serial commands. So all I need to do is enter in here the more than symbol, then R-E-P-E-E-T, send the word repeat, because that's what the main microcontroller does, sends the word repeat to this via the serial port. This is all controlled by Arduino. I've used the Arduino IDE to program it. Right, now the repeat mode is on because it's indicated by this blue LED next to the play button. It tells me its repeat mode's on. So now, when I press play, the record player will start playing as before. So it'll automatically detect speed and position where to drop the tone arm, and it's done so. So now play the record. Now we're coming towards the end of the record again, but this time instead of stopping, it will move the tone arm back to the beginning of the record and play again. And it'll do that up to 5 times and then shuts down. Can we get focus right? I'm doing this on my phone rather than on a cinema camera because That's the only thing I've got to hand at the moment is my phone, which is a Google Pixel 9 Pro. Camera's not bad on this phone, but it's not brilliant. Right, so when that starts playing, right, so now it'll pick it up, move it back to the beginning of the record and start again. Oh, mechanism jammed again. It does this, I'll sort that out. Back to the beginning and drops it down again, starts playing again from the beginning. I've got a little issue with that lift shaft sticking, so I need to investigate why it's doing that. I think it just needs grease on there. But they do that and they play that up to 5 times and stops. So now I'm going to press the stop, which also cancels out the repeat function. So if I hit stop, the blue LED will go off and the tone arm will move back to the rest. Like so. Right, we're now going to play a 7-inch 45 RPM record. Now, we won't have to do anything other than put the record on the turntable, like so. Place the weight down on the top of it. And press the play button. That is literally it. I don't have to set the speed. I don't have to set the drop down position because it's done fully automatically. So it starts the record and the turntable revolved a couple of times to detect the position of the record. Now seeing it's a 45 RPM, so it's speeded up to 45 RPM, and it's placed the tone arm onto the middle of the record, onto the start of the record, and playback commences. And as with the 12-inch record, when it reaches the end of the record, it will automatically shut down, move the arm back to the rest position, and then switch off. Right, so it lifts up, tone arm moves back to its rest, turntable is stopped, and it shuts down. There you go. This record player is controlled by both the little onboard buttons there, which gives limited control. So you got the Q up, that lifts the tone arm up, Q down, lowers it, manual speed control, which changes the speed. So you go to 33 in the third, 45, so it just changes the speed. But we can do all those on the touchscreen, which will be added to the radiogram when it's on. And the way we do that, what happens when you press a button, touch the button on the touch screen, all it does, it just sends commands to this. So if I now send the auto command to it, so basically it's auto enclosed by the 2 little brackets. I press that, the record player starts up. And all I've done there, I simulated the touch screen press on the display at the front of the radiogram, and the record will play. Likewise, I've now just entered stop. So now, press that. So sent the stop command to the record player. It'll stop. And there we have it. So, freaking finger again. So there it is, the fully automatic 3D printed turntable. So the only parts that are not 3D printed are the cartridge, the little motors underneath there, and the stepper motor that drives it, and the printed circuit boards that make it work. So that's the introduction to this wonderful record player. Now I'm undecided whether to keep the Union Jack turntable platter or to change it for a more plain, like grey one or something like that, to contrast with the black plinth. I haven't yet decided what I'm going to do with that yet. So there it is. Now the record size is detected by these 2 little push buttons here. There's one here, and there's one under the. So I made a TPU so they're soft, so they don't damage your record. And all that does, it just operates a little flap underneath. It's underneath there. I don't know if you can see them. There's a couple of opto sensors. It's little slotted opto sensors there. as it goes around the little tab. You can't see it there really well, can you? There's a little tab that moves in between that opto sensor that